What's up, everyone? Welcome back to A Line in the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we're back today with another episode of the Eagle Moss Enterprise from Fanhome. And last week, we completed two major mods. We completed the microcrystal clear window mod for the neck, which is what I decided to do instead of doing the resin windows, which turned out really great. A couple hot spots, like I mentioned before, but lessons learned. We're going to go ahead and move on. And the second thing that we did was install, and I did this off camera. We'll look for an episode here in the coming weeks when we discuss our central power mod. I've already created two legs of this, but we installed the neck portion of the central power mod. What we basically have going on here is a power source that is going to connect all into one power source. When the model is powered up, the whole thing's going to power up. No individual batteries. It's going to run off of 5-volt directly powered into the wall. We're not messing around. So we went ahead and assembled both of those pieces in last week's episode. And in this episode, we are going to go ahead and finish up getting all of our little pieces put on to cover all of our screw holes and literally finish up a major portion of this model as we march on to starting to work on the engineering section. So in addition to that, we're also going to be working on stages 43 and 44, getting a couple more hull panels put on, and continue to chug along on this build. So let's go ahead and start with the end of stage 42. All right, so the end of stage 42 is where I basically stopped. We got this side of the neck put on, and when I did all of the parts for the microcrystal clear mod, I went ahead and just moved ahead a little bit and finished up stage 40. What was it? 43, 44, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I went ahead and finished the assembly and got everything done because it was literally just a repeat of the other side. So where we're going to finish, or where we're going to start, is by assembling our transporter emitter. So this is going to go on this side, and we're going to be doing all of this basically to this other side as well, but we need to get to those parts as we go along. So first up, let's go ahead and get our transporter emitter put in here. And it does seem like there's a bit of a gate on here, so I'm regretting taking that 3M piece off, but we'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and use my razor, and I know it's an awful sound. I'm going to go ahead and sand off that gate off that end, and we also have a gate on the other end. Come on, Eagle Moss. Keep doing stuff like this, you guys are going to go out of business. So, went ahead and took care of that gate there. We'll leave this out as we're going to have to do the same thing to the other side. Now let's go ahead and get that installed. And what I like to do is just kind of push in, take my finger and push it in right over here. And as a reminder, I'm following along with myenterprised.com. Todd did an amazing job of explaining what we're doing here in today's episode and in every episode of this build going forward. Okay, so now we're going to grab the background. We're going to take screw cover number 1 is what they're calling this. And we're going to go ahead and take the 3M background or the backing off. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install this piece right here very carefully. If I hadn't completed this mod, all the mods already, I would not be doing this. But as I'm comfortable with where this model is at and how everything turned out, we're going to go ahead and leave it as is. I'm just kind of going through and using a little bit of force here, pushing down on this panel because it doesn't quite sit in there flush, and you want to make sure you get all of the little recesses put down. But there is what that looks like. So we have the transporter emitter right there, and then we have our panel put in flush, covers that up. Very nice. Can infer that this is a push pin connection. So it looks like this one's going to go in right here. Just like so. Push that in until it snaps into place. Get it pushed all the way in. Oh boy. I'm making everything official here, aren't we? I'm sure I could take time and get these pieces off, but really don't want to. Okay. Let's grab our next piece here. And you see we've got the two mounting lugs here, and it has an L stamped into the bottom of it. And that is going to fit in. Oop, other way. Just like so. Very cool. So that's what that looks like. Oh man, making this all official and stuff. All right, and then finally what we have is going to be, we're going to do the caps for the other side. This is going to be covered, I believe, in stage 43, so we're just going to go ahead and do this anyway. But we have 4 little caps that cover these screw holes here. So what we have here, we have 2 that are really flat, and then we have 2 that are angled. I believe these are pieces, what do they call them? 42J are the ones that are angled, and then 42K are the ones that are flat. The angled ones are going to go into this hole right here, where one of our AM screws go in, and then right next to the formation light, that is where the 42K is going to go. So we're going to repeat that for both sides. Now, how we're going to get these put into place is very carefully set them down. I'm going to set all of these down. Goodness. There we are. They can get lost in your hands here. And you'll see that the end here, that it has the one facing towards the end of my hand there, is going to go in facing that way. So carefully set that down into place and get it popped in. And it will only seat if you do it properly. So be very careful and take your time to get it set. There we go. There we are. Just like that. There we are. And clicked into place. I imagine that it would be a very difficult time getting that out. So I'm glad that we are done. And then 42K goes right into place right there. Let's go ahead and switch over to the other side. And once again, this would be part of stage 43. But since I got the parts out and I don't want to leave them sitting on my workbench, we're going to go ahead and just get them plugged into place. And with that click, that one's in. Set in a little far down, but that's fine. I don't care. And 42K also clicked into place. And there we are. So there, so this panel seems to be a bit of a pain. I'm wondering, oh, it is a bit of photo etch actually. Very interesting, huh? This is a piece of photo etch right here. I kind of took it and bent it back into place a little bit. And I'm wondering if I might have to bust out a little bit of CA. Just to ensure that it sits down in there. Okay, so that's on there. If that pops off again, I'm going to use a piece of CA to get that piece of photo etch, because that's what that is right there. I didn't realize it, but that is a piece of photo etch, so I can 100% use a little bit of CA right there to get that put into place. So there we are. That completes stages 42, or that completes the end of stage 42 and part of 43. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. Let's begin stage 43. All right, so stage 43 starts with a lot of familiar pieces here. So let's go ahead and get our package opened up the rest of the way. I have already gone through, as a reminder, and done my UV resin window mod, and this is the window pattern that I chose. For this, I'm just going to be doing custom window patterns at this point, as I need to pay attention to where my reflectors go, as it has a bearing on how bright our windows can be, and I'm trying to avoid a lot of hot spots now that that happened on the neck. So there's our whole panel. And let's go ahead and get everything else out very carefully, I say. And as I know what we're doing from before, we're going to start at kind of the end of the stage. I'm going to grab windows that we don't need to use anymore. God, I love saying that. We have some EM screws, and one thing you will notice when you get to stage 43 is they changed the design of the flange screws for the EMs. This matters because there are going to be a couple of panels, and specifically in the next stage, we're going to have to use this EM screw and basically fix a mistake from a design error earlier in the build. So this is going to be our new EM screws, and it's just a smaller flange. It's not as big of a wide of a flange, basically. We have our LED, our hull panel. Let's go ahead and get that removed. And once again, just used some black electrical tape to create the blackened windows. And then we use our AK flat white marker for this panel. And we have our EM screws and our various pieces that we just assembled on the other side. So I think I'm going to be missing some screws because there's a couple packs of screws that I didn't wind up having. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these EM screws and these new EM screws and set them off to the side, and we will see what we need as the instructions tell us. I'm going to go ahead and get that put off to the side there. And first things first, let's go ahead and finish up with getting all, like these pieces, they give us an extra set of these for whatever reason. They gave us a full set in the first time, so I'm just going to go ahead and set these off to the side. But let's go ahead and get the rest of these panels put into place. So I'm going to start with the transporter emitter. And while that backing is still on there, let's go ahead and grab our file and file down the gates. There we are. Take off that backing. And then go ahead and get this installed. And just kind of run my finger along through the inside there. And there are both of our lower... Oh, man, look at those transporter emitters. Those look really good. Ah, man, I like this photo etch on here. Like realizing now, like when I first started doing this, I had no idea what any of the modeling stuff was. Knowing that these are photo etch, I know how to treat them, and they look so good on the model. They really do. They really bring out the transporter emitters. And if you guys didn't know, that's what these are. Transporter emitters. Very cool. All right, so starting at the back, let's just go ahead and roll through. I'm not even going to follow my instructions here. So let's go ahead and get this panel clipped into place. And it will satisfyingly clip. And I will show you guys. Just like so. Kind of push it in, just like that. Very nice. Do the same thing here. And you can see that this is a little tapered a little bit. The thinner end is going to go towards the old battery switch cover. Or the old switch cover. And this is going to sit right like that. Make sure you get both press fit lugs in place. And then click and click. And you just want to go through and make sure it's seated down in there. So that's what those two look like. And then finally, well, not finally, but next up, because we have one more transporter emitter to install, let's go ahead and test fit our panel here. And it does need to be bent a little bit down, so we're going to go ahead and take it and bend it just a little bit like this. Remember that this is photo etch, so you don't want to go too crazy. But you can actually go in, and now this needs to come down a little bit. You can go through and get it test fit, and get the areas that you want to fix bent correctly so that it fits down there properly. Something like that. So now we can take the back off. Get that installed. Get that press fit into place. And that's what that looks like. And then, what's very cool is the central transporter emitter. this piece right here is going to fit. The wider part is down here on the bottom. It's going to fit just like that. So we also have a gate here that needs to be taken care of. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a gate at the end of each side, obviously where they snipped it off of the photo etch. So we're just going to use our eraser here, take that down, just like so. Then let's go ahead and test fit this in place. That's going to fit just like that. So, very, very cool. And there's just a couple more pieces to put on, and the Cobra head will be finished, and we'll be doing that in the next stage. So, let's go ahead and... Oh, very cool. Get that put into place. Make sure it's lined up properly before fully settling it down. And there we are. All of our screw holes are covered up, you guys. Except for right here, and we'll be covering that in 44. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I can't. Look at that. That is so freaking cool. Like, I'm watching it on camera. I should be, like, looking at it in person, but I always want to make sure that we're focused. But, you guys, that looks so good. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of stage 43. Okay, so I was right, and we need to get some BM screws. So let's go ahead and grab our BM screws. And I think because we're going to be working with metal today, just a reminder that we're going to be using some 3-in-1 oil. You want to use that for any time you're going into metal, which is what we're going to be going into today. So first up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab the saucer. There we are, my friends. Oh, it looks so cool. And where this is going is right here. But first, what we're going to do is we need to... What we're going to do on U201 and U203 is we're going to go ahead and loosen these 6 screws. And excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason why we want to do that is we want to be able to create some room to be able to fit this in, because this panel slots in and under. So it goes in on top of this panel and then under this panel. And in order to do so, we need to go ahead and loosen up some screws. So let's go ahead and do so. And we're just going to loosen up just a little bit. We're not going crazy. Not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do. What movie was that in? All right. There we are. That's a screw for something else. I was like, wait, there's an empty screw hole there. All right. So that's loosened up a little bit. Perfect. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and slide this upside down or right side up, so to say. What we're going to do, very carefully, get this one tucked. Now, this is one of the rare ones, and the reason why we have to do this is this one doesn't have those little mounting points that we're going to be plugging in. So this one is going to sit slightly under. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the panel, slot it under U201, and then very carefully basically if you've loosened this enough, you should be able to slide this panel underneath this one and get it locked in up front. And it's a bit of a finicky thing, so give me a second and I will be right back. And I say that, it literally just worked right then and there. Okay, so very carefully what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, holding that panel in place, and I'm going to tighten those 6 screws that I just loosened up. This is going to help hold this down and secure it into place. And I could feel it grabbing and pulling that panel in. Perfect. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to turn this here so everybody can see what I'm doing. And we'll zoom in just a little bit. What we're going to do is we need to now take our LEDs, these two here. We're going to go ahead and grab them and get them tucked in underneath these panels. Ah. And I kind of push down on the panel just a little bit to loosen it from the reflector on the other side. And then get this one in. Then push that panel back up into place. And then we are going to secure this in place with 4 EM screws. Oh my god. Very nice. I forgot about the, of course we're going into our oil. I forgot about how magnetic the, I'm trying to keep this held into place. I forgot about how magnetic the PS1 is here. I'm going to go ahead and get that put into place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over. There we are. And grab one of our BM screws. I'm deviating from the instructions here as I can feel some issues. Now I'm seeing why Wayne does this off of his workbench. Get that in some oil. I'm going to secure this into place with one BM screw. Pull that up into its place. There we are. Very good. Now, finish up with our EM screws here, now that I don't have to awkwardly hold that thing. Oh, and as I mentioned, very hard to pick up, but the flange part of this flange screw is much smaller than what we have seen before. They obviously saw a design issue and rectified it. And I'm curious, Todd or anybody else that might know, was that something that was done later on during the build, or was it done during the middle of the build? Because I've noticed that they've course corrected, and I've noticed that some of these models actually do course correct as they go along. Recognize an issue during development or during their building phase, and then they fix it and address it in coming up issues. A little bit of our oil started to cool down a little bit, so I need to bust out my cup warmer. You want to warm up your oil before you use it, because the pumps don't like to work unless it's a little warm. Finally coming towards the end of summer, and I couldn't be more thankful. It's been hot. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is secure the rest of this in place into using the rest of our BM screws. So I'm going to go ahead and just get these out on the table. I may actually switch to doing this because I like keeping them neat and tidy, but it is actually kind of hard to get these out of the tray, so to say. All right, I'm not going to secure them all the way down. I want to get all of the screws put in place. I may actually continue to do that now that I'm seeing how quick easier this is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get all of these put in place and screws in there most of the way before fully tightening it down. Man, these things are super magnetized. All right, here's our last screw. And then this one we're going to fully tighten up. And then in a star pattern, somehow maybe. I'm going to finish tightening them up. Go that side to the middle. To up here. And down. All right, let's go ahead and take a look, see how that turned out. And there it is. Oh, that turned out really nice. Todd, excellent instructions. Loosening this panel, Game changer. Let's go ahead and move on to stage 44. All right, here's stage 44. Let's go ahead and get it opened. And I've decided that during the assembly of my windows and all of that, I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and do the escape pod assembly as well. So here is our hull panel with our escape pods put in, all of our darkened, lightened, and I actually did a couple of windows that are colored here. So let's go ahead and just bust those out, and we'll show you what that looks like underneath. There we go. Once again, just as a reminder, it's black electrical tape blocking behind the escape pods. And then it is black electrical tape as well, creating the darkened windows with a yellow Sharpie and a turquoise Sharpie, creating the colored windows with the real colors, aka flat white marker, to create the opaque or basically diffused lightened windows. So there is our... wow. We're going to need to grab a little bit more electrical tape. I thought I did a better job of installing that. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off this janky piece that I just created. There we go. Grab just a small piece so it's like that. And it's kind of a bad cut, but this will work just fine. Just need to secure down the end there because there is going to be an LED sitting right behind that. So let's go ahead and get that put away. I'm not going to need this anymore today. Let's go ahead and get that put away. And then today we're going to be introducing some new EM screws. We're going to be introducing the new EM screw into this. So I'm going to go ahead and take our BM, which we're going to need continually. And then we also have some DM screws, which haven't changed. And I wonder if they will over time. Okay. So let's go ahead and get our screws open. Get our hair off the chair. Or hair off the chair. Hair off the table. Some more BM screws. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead and get out our DM screws. And when I need them, I'll put them on the table for whatever I need. And we'll set the DM there. Make sure, once again, you're going to need to warm up your oil in order to get the flow properly. So I'm taking a little bit of time to get some oil here. Inappropriate. Here's some windows that we're not going to need. And then we have an LED, a couple of reflectors. Oh my goodness. And then the thing we're going to start or finish with today is the two screw covers for the side of the Cobra head. So I'm excited to finish with this because this marks the end of a very major milestone for this model. So let's go ahead and finish up stage 43, or let's go ahead and finish up stage 44. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and install our reflector panel. And the first one we're going to install is going to be right here. And this one fits right over the top right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab this is a short LED because we're right next to one of the PCBs and we're going to be installing in the next episode. And we're going to slot that LED right into place. And okay, there it is. And then we're going to secure that into place with 3 DM screws. So let's go ahead and just drop 3 DMs out. Or more, whatever. It's cool. Get into the oil. Don't want to cinch these down too much because you can crack the reflector panel. I like to go top and then bottom and then the side because they do tend to lift up a little bit. Separate this out a little bit there. And just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bend up on this LED. There we are. Now, we're going to go ahead and grab the other reflector panel. And this one fits in kind of funny like, just like that. This is a very interesting reflector. And then we're going to go ahead and take the other LED in this strand, slot it into place, just like so. Clip that down, make sure it's sitting in there properly, the way it wants to. There we are. And then we're going to go ahead and slot this in with 3 more DM screws. One more of those. Yep, definitely see why Wayne just dumps them out on his desk. Always been like, man, how do you keep track of all that? But I have an idea for all of that. So we're going to start up here near the reflector, or near the LED, because I'm tired of holding it in place. There we are. There we are. And then our last one. That one I had to kind of push down a little bit in order to get that to secure in place. That's fine. There we are. And there's our panel put and created. Very cool. So I'm looking forward right now and seeing Todd's notes. In stage 48, we're going to wind up having some issues with this. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this DM screw, and we're going to replace it with the EM screw, the new one that we got in the last stage. That one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove this DM screw and not use it at all, as it does get in the way, and then we're going to have to do a little bit of modification work as well. So this EM is now replacing that DM. We're going to go ahead and remove this DM screw as the LED stays in place, not a problem. We don't need to worry about any light bleed as well. Oh. There we are. And then, real quick, we're going to remove this screw, and we're going to use our sprue cutters, and we're going to trim off a little piece here. So let me grab my single-bladed nippers, because these cut through this stuff like butter. And what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to grab right from this point, right there. I'm just going to cut across. Just like that. Clean up any of our edges. We want to try to make this as flat as possible. And I may actually use my stronger double-bladed nippers here. Yes, that was a better call. And what I've done is I took this part of the reflector where the flange hooks in and cut it off, because that will cause a problem with the frame and cause major light leak in stage 48. So, go ahead and finish cleaning that up real quick. There we are. And let's go ahead and get that EM screw put back into place. And there we are. And with that modified, that's what that looks like. Excellent. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back up to the top of the page here. And I am going to bend up on this LED so that both of those LEDs are sitting up in that position just like that. And then let's go ahead and grab our saucer, and let's go ahead and get our nippers put away, because I don't want to have anything sharp on the desk while I am building and having the saucer up here, because I do want the saucer to stay nice. Let's get our cutter off here. Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the saucer. Now, what this one is going to do, what we're going to do, That's confusing me. So we're going to take that LED wire and pull that off. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and feed this wire through this slot right here. And then what we're going to do, and I remember this from the other side, this one is going to take a little bit of bending and a little bit of manipulation in order to get this to slot in correctly, because this is a complex curve piece right here, and one that is a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm focusing on getting this tab in first, and then the other two. Remember that right from the other side. Yep. Yeah, this is definitely a tough piece to get in. Oh, definitely a tough piece to get in here. Be patient. Oh, buddy, after just forever trying to get that done, I finally got that panel put into place. So let's go ahead and get what I had to do. And I followed Todd's instructions, but even I had to go a little bit further. I had to basically loosen all of these screws along through here in order to get this tightened down. So first things first, let's go ahead and get everything cinched down so that I don't lose my panel gaps that I've already created. Stage 44, my friends, is one of the more difficult panels to get installed on this entire model. I've known that for a while. Saw it on the Facebook group, and I'm just like, ugh, I'm getting up to it. Been not looking forward to it, but here we are, and we're all done. So, not too worried about it. And we just got all these tightened down. And let's see how that turned out real fast. Looks good once it's finally installed, right? Jesus. Now, what we're very simply going to do is we're going to take two BM screws, two of those off the desk, and we're going to install them right here and right here. All right, getting that second one in here. I feel that pulling it down. That's excellent. Let's go ahead and take a look to see how that turned out. Very good. Yeah. No significant gaps. All of our panels are tightened back down. That looks really good. We'll be able to test that out in the next episode when we hook up our second PCB. So let's go ahead and take a look. And after all the mods were taken care of, we are good to go on that front. So that is all we have for the saucer today. And I got to say, I'm really excited about how that's turned out. It looks really good, you guys. That gap is taken care of. We're just a couple issues away from getting this taken care of. And this thing is starting to really get difficult to hold with one hand. So I'm going to stop doing that. All right. The thing that I'm looking forward to the most here right now is let's go ahead and get these two pieces clipped into place and get this portion of the model taken care of for good. So this is Enterprise right there, and where this is going to fit into place is going to be right through here to cover up those screw holes. Obviously, we're not going to be mounting the plate right here until we actually have the matching section where we're going to be mating it up to, because I'm going to need to be able to drill a hole to be able to run our power mod through. So what we're going to do here is grab this panel, and let's switch over to the side camera here. And what we're going to do is just get it press fit into place. Oh, there it is. Bit of a gap there. There, that's why. That's what that looks like. Oh man, that looks so good. Let's do the same thing to the other side. I'll switch up to the top for that one though, however. I'm going to get these lined up, get that out of the way. Get everything pressed in from the back, move it forward, and pressed in up front. Make sure we're good to go. There it is. Gonna do a little, these press fits, you need to kind of manipulate them a little bit. But there it is, my friends. The Cobra head is complete. A major milestone has been reached, my friends. A completed section of a very large part work is done. And I got to say, I'm very pleased with how that turned out. So let's go ahead and bring back the saucer. And here it is. We are done. Now, I need to figure out what this is. I'm going to maybe take some glue or something. I'm going to talk to Todd, figure out what that is all about. But there it is. We are done. We have completed stages 42, 43, and 44. We have completed the Cobra head. This is now going to go away for a little while until we figure out what we're going to do with those light bleeds. But we're done with the assembly on this portion of the model, and we're going to get ready to focus on finishing up the top and getting word nacelles working and going. And we're going to be marching on to our next major mod, which is going to be taking care of custom lighting for the nacelles. So that's what I got for you today, and I just want to say thank you. I know that there was a million things y'all could have done today. Instead, you spent a couple minutes with me watching me build a model, which I think is pretty damn cool. You guys have any questions or comments, tips, tricks, please leave them down below. Like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. And my friends, until we see each other again, I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world wherever you happen to be. And just remember, my friends, to always live long and prosper.